Thank you, everyone, for the time to join this conference call. The big news for us for Reign of Dynasties is we've been holding back the location until this week. And Singapore, it's going to be in Singapore. And the big news for us is that we are working very closely with the Singapore government. Even though borders are still closed across Asia, we will be able to this will be the start of our international events, but we're also working with other major governments across Asia for the same thing in terms of green lane visas and obviously special COVID protocols to ensure the health and safety of our athletes, our staff, and obviously the residents of any country that we are hosting our international events. So this is a huge thing for us, and we're super excited. And this card itself is also a very exciting one, especially for Asia, with the Muay Thai World Championship headed by Sam A, the legendary Sam A, who has almost 400 professional fights, won every major title in the world, facing the unlikely underdog in a classic, I'd say, Rocky story, Josh Tana, the unlikely contender who clawed his way through the rankings and defeated a legend in Andy Housen to earn his title shot. We also have a very exciting matchup as a co-main event with undefeated Alexei Toivonen, who's going to try to break through the rankings against Reese McLaren. And the other fights are also super exciting. I believe that most of these fights will not go the distance. And of course, I announced last night, October 30th, though I haven't revealed the location yet, will also be an international event. And I've revealed the top 4 bouts of that event. And so with that, I'll kick it off to Q&A.
Sure. Chatri, how has the COVID-19 pandemic changed how you'll do business going forward? Angela Lee has announced her pregnancy. What is the plan for her title while she's on maternity leave? What do you think this means for the people of Singapore to start living life as normal as possible?
Obviously, COVID-19 had a negative impact on all global sports media properties around the world, but it's good to see that everyone is getting back up on their feet. We were down from March, April, and May, and we came back with our first live event in June in China, and then in July, August, September in Thailand. And obviously, Singapore being our first big international event again is super exciting. I think COVID has changed the sports industry in many ways. I think the first one is that content has always been king, but now producing content available for digital is paramount. It has always been part of One Championship strategy. But if you think about a large digital presence, a large social media presence, having a big content factory that's able to have tremendous output of number of videos or content stacks, very important. Our esports division actually did online tournaments across Asia during this whole pandemic, and achieved some very meaningful numbers in terms of viewership as well as in terms of revenues. So I think COVID again is a blessing in disguise. It's forced many companies around the world to rethink their priorities and simplify their business models. And I really believe that the strongest companies will thrive in this environment. And I'm super grateful for the team at One Championship, my team at One Championship's incredible creativity and resilience and excellence to be able to pull off event after event, even in this pandemic. Of course, it's empty stadium, which is a very different dynamic. But I think to the audience at home, it's just as exciting. And that's the most important thing for us. We are a sports media property. We're not an event company. So what we care a lot more about, the 150 countries that we're broadcast in and the viewership numbers in our core markets. Those are the things that matter most to us. not necessarily, how many people in the stadium. Of course, we'd love to have a full stadium, but in this environment, I foresee empty stadiums probably for the next 12 months around the world, at least.
Sure, Chatri. Another question came in. One has announced the October 30th show. Could you let us know how many fights do you have, and what's another title shot that you're planning towards?
I will talk about the October 30 card in more detail next week. I just again wanted to reveal the first four title bouts. Aung Lan Sang versus Renier Derrida, Christian Lee versus undefeated Yuri Lapicus, Martin Nguyen versus Tan Lei, and Zhong Jingnan versus Tiffany Teo. But I'm not going to reveal the rest of the card at this time.
Sure. What plans do you have with fighters like DJ and Eddie from the US? Will they be cleared to compete in upcoming cards? How would that work with international travel?
Yes, definitely. We are solving those issues as we speak. And again, as I mentioned at the top of the call, we are working with multiple governments internationally to be able to create the same situation that we have in Singapore. So knock on wood that things come to fruition. But yes, I mean, I'm eager to get DJ and Eddie back in action ASAP.
Sure. Any plans for Team Lakay in the Philippines? Any updates on the Filipino side that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, I can say that on October 30th, a few Filipino fighters from Team Lakay will be competing. I can say Edward Falayang. I guess I'll reveal one more fight on the card is Edward Falayang versus Antonio Caruso from Australia. That will be also on the main card.
Could you provide some insight into the COVID protocols you'll be undertaking in the Singapore show?
Yeah, I mean, it's a super granular, everything from obviously pre-flight tests before they embark from their destination country, tests when they arrive, tests throughout the week. We've created a bubble with the hotel and transportation from the airport, and we have secured it every floor so that protocols maintained and that athletes remain in their rooms at all times. Yeah, I mean, there's very strict protocol we have implemented. And then obviously post-event as well, there'll be more testing done before athletes are sent back home.
Sure. Chatri, another question came in. Regarding the Atomweight Grand Prix, could you share or elaborate on any detail, any idea of a start date or what names will be involved?
I anticipate the Atomweight Grand Prix to start in January, and just in time, the winner of the Grand Prix will then face Angela Lee when she returns.
Chatri, another question. It took a while to stage another live event because of the pandemic, and it also took us a while to do another one outside of Thailand. Could you just talk us through the process that you and your group went through and what were the plannings that happened behind the scenes?
Sure. So, of course, when the pandemic first hit and our last event was February 28th, and then Singapore, the country, went into lockdown, full lockdown. People were not allowed to leave their homes for, I believe it was 45 days, around there. And it was obviously a very difficult time for not only Singapore, but for the world. And, we really focused on what could we do online, what could we do digitally. And we put a lot of focus on that. So again, like our esports division did online tournaments that hit some very strong viewership numbers and revenue numbers, and obviously coming up with new content stacks that are not tied to our shows. So for example, the Apprentice or content stacks like that will be coming out from One Championship. we've evolved from much more than just a sports media property. We're truly now a media company with a diverse content stack. And I think this is something that COVID has brought out in us. I told my team when we had a company meeting at the very beginning of the pandemic, the keys to success in this environment are twofold. One is creativity, because we're going to be faced with problems we've never seen before. So we have to be even more creative about solutions and products that we launch. And then resilience. We're going to get more rejections and failures and obstacles and setbacks and mistakes than ever before, and having the resilience and the grit to fight through all of that. And by June, we had our first event back in China, and then July, August, September in Thailand, obviously, and now we're in Singapore. So, all in all, I'm very proud of my team, and yeah, I mean, the fact that we've been up and running almost every other week has been a testament to how incredible the team at One Championship is.
So Chatri, with Singapore up and running and fighters no doubt anxious to get back in action, how many events does One Championship plan to hold before the end of the year?
Everything is in the works, including our 2021 calendar, which we're working on right now. Again, I'm sorry to sound so coy, but we have multiple things that are at play. Again, multiple countries, multiple governments, and we'll see how things shake out. We hopefully be able to announce the initial calendar for 2021, in the near future, as we also plan out for the rest of the year. And the reality is, every country in Asia right now is going through its own cycle. Some have had, a significant drop in COVID cases. Some have seen a spike. Borders remain closed, though, across the entire continent for the most part. Countries are not allowing tourism to happen. Countries are not allowing, international travel to happen. So, these are very tricky times, but I'm grateful for the support that the Singapore government has given to One Championship, not only as a partner, but really extending itself to helping. One Championship is the first international event, international production of any kind in Singapore, whether it's sports, music, or entertainment, allowed to have green lane visas with no quarantine to our athletes. There's no 14-day quarantine. They come in. Obviously, the COVID protocol is very, very stringent, and obviously the bubble between the airport and the transport and the hotel, and having security guards at every floor, having liaison officers with our athletes at all times. These are the precautionary measures we're taking, and even in the stadium, we're going to have specified zones for different departments, because we don't want any more than 50 people gathered at any given point in time in the entire stadium. So we'll have tents set up outside. We have a very strict protocol for who can be cage side. Unfortunately, I will not even be able to be cage side for October 9th or October 30th, because The Apprentice goes into production on October 26th. And so we have actually 3 separate bubbles going on, October 9th. Well, I haven't named the location yet for October 30th, but October 26th, I'll be going into production with The Apprentice. And so I will be in a bubble.
So Chatri, for the October 9th event, could you speak a little bit about how One is able to become the chosen government partner to pilot the return to live sporting events, and how the partnership has worked out between One and the Singaporean government?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give my hats off to Huo Fang, the group president of One Championship, as well as his team. They've done a phenomenal job working with the various agencies and ministers across the Singapore government to rally support for us. And of course, I'm super grateful to the Singapore government for extending its help in every area, and working collaboratively to allow One Championship to lead the way. So in many ways, we are the the international pilot test. If we are successful, then we'll have the blueprint for other music and entertainment events to start internationally in terms of international events in Singapore. And everything is new, and we're working very, very closely, literally every day, meetings and calls with various agencies of the Singapore government. So many agencies are involved in helping us.
Sure. Before the pandemic, one was planning on setting up an event in the US. Is that plan still on the table?
Yeah, if it weren't for the pandemic, we would have already had our first event in the U.S., and it's unfortunate, and so we have to regroup. The United States is going through its own strange times with the whole COVID situation, but also the whole political situation and the whole race relations, and so we will take our time. I don't want to commit to a date of when we go to America, when we'll go to the United States, but it's definitely on our plans. But again, I just don't know. I don't have enough visibility. And again, the U.S. is, is in a very strange place right now as well.
Sure. What does this event signify about moving one championship forward in Singapore? Is this a start to some sort of Singaporean bubble, similar to what NBA has done in Orlando?
Again, we're working with multiple governments and multiple international locations. What I meant by this is the first of our international events was because we have many other things in parallel process right now that I'll hopefully be able to announce in the near future, so that the international events fully open up and it's not just dependent on one country. So that's what I meant by my announcement that Reign of Dynasties marks the first of many international events, but doesn't necessarily mean Singapore only. And again, October 30th, as I said, I haven't revealed the location yet.
So Chatri, one more question. Any plans for all the heavyweights you have signed recently? So like fighters like Arjun Bhullar, any plans for them?
Yes, actually, Brandon Vera and Arjun Bhullar have agreed to fight. I believe they've already signed the bout agreements, and we'll be making announcements for our next few cards, and so they'll be on it. But yes, I mean, we have recently signed a bunch of heavyweights, and I think it's fair to say that our heavyweight division, compared to our other divisions, is not as stacked, and the idea is to really beef up our heavyweight division and our light heavyweight divisions, so that they're on par with the rest of the divisions.
Hey, Chatri, do you want to comment on the main event this Friday? What should fans be looking forward to, and what's your personal view on what's going to happen?
As I said, the main event for me is very intriguing, and I think a lot of eyes will be on it in Asia, just because Asia, Asian fans love striking arts, and Sam A is genuinely one of the greatest legends, pound for pound, to ever come out of Thailand, and but at the same time, he is the veteran lion, and Josh Tonna is the unlikely underdog. And it would mean a huge thing for Australia and Australian martial arts if Josh Tonna was able to pull off the upset. Obviously, Josh has knockout power in his hands, but Sam A will have the speed and experience advantage. It's a super tough one to call. Again, at some point, Father Time catches up with every athlete. And so the question, I think, on a lot of people's minds is that where Sam A is at? He's definitely at the twilight of his career, and I say Josh is, right in the prime of his career. So, can the underdog young lion take out the old veteran lion in a classic Rocky story?
So Chatri, as we're running out of time, the last question is, what have you and your team learned in the last few months, especially during the pandemic, and what learnings do you have for your fans?
I hate to sound trite, but the show must go on. And what I have learned personally is that my team at One Championship, the resilience, the passion, the excellence is just, far exceeded my expectations, and just incredible effort. I mean, I would tell you that the morale internally at One Champion is at all-time high. People are just fired up, and I always say that crises, you really discover who you are as a person, who you are as individual and as a team. And one quote that comes to mind always is, ships are not made for the calm waters of the harbor. Ships are made for the rough seas in search of new horizons. And great captains are made in rough seas, never in the calm of the harbor. And that's why I said, I genuinely believe the best companies in the world will not only survive, they will thrive in the same way One Champion is thriving in this environment. The show must go on, and you will only see more and more shows from One Championship, more and more content stacks. And as I mentioned, The Apprentice goes into production October 26th, and that will be our first content stack by One Studios, our TV and movie division, launching general entertainment content. But we will still have a lot of our world champions featured on the show, as well as some guest celebrities. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The show is not going to be at all like The Apprentice that people know in the United States. This edition of The Apprentice is going to feature not only the business challenges, but there's going to be adventure challenges, physical challenges with our world champions. And so literally, I believe this is going to be the world's toughest apprentice, because not only do you have to have razor sharp business acumen to win, but you need to show that you're physically and emotionally fit as well, because of the various tests that we're going to put the contestants through. So the only thing that's similar to the old version of The Apprentice of the United States is the name of The Apprentice and the $250,000 salary that the winner receives to work as my protege. Those are the only commonalities. Everything else you're going to see, it's a completely different revamped show, and it will have global distribution with our global broadcast partners. So it's going to be fun for all. There's going to be a lot of entertainment. It's not going to be about business. There will be obviously business elements, but a lot of it is going to be a lot of super fun games. I think the best analogy I can say is The Apprentice is going to be something like a cross between Amazing Race and Shark Tank, something like that. I mean, not exactly, but something like that. And you mix in all the One Championship world champions and a bunch of guest celebrities, as well as celebrity CEOs that'll be joining as well.
Thank you, Chatri, and thank you everybody for listening. We had an excellent turnout and appreciate your time and focus. We thank you for joining our conference call today. If you have any further questions about the event on Friday, the event that Chatri talked about on the 30th, The Apprentice, any of our content stacks, you may direct them to Tammy Chan and any of our PR team in your specific countries. And if you have any interview requests for Chatri, to that same team. And don't forget to catch all the action at One Reign of Dynasties this Friday night live. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chatri.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.